Have you ever had a clear vision of what you want, but still found yourself doing everything except the thing that actually moves you forward? That feeling of overwhelm, procrastination, or not knowing where to start. It's something we all face. And in today's episode, I'm going to break down how to move through that. I'm going to share how I approach going from feeling stuck to building momentum, from creating a podcast, running retreats, and stepping into the life I actually want. Welcome to You Matter, I Matter, a transformational podcast about reconnecting with what truly matters. I'm your host, James, and each week is an opportunity to explore a little bit deeper who you really are. With amazing guests, we explore topics such as purpose, connection, commitment, and what it really means to live more consciously. If you've been feeling disconnected from yourself, from others, or from life, you're in the right place. Join us on You Matter, I Matter. Now, let's begin. Do you ever have times when you don't have a clue what to do? Or maybe you have an idea or a dream, but you don't know how to take the steps. Or maybe you just feel overwhelmed by it all. You procrastinate. You end up watching TV for the entire day rather than doing work. You do house chores. You do everything that you can apart from the thing that you actually set out to do or you need to do. I'm going to talk about a few ways in which I have created things in my life, dreams, aspirations, goals, and how I have done it myself personally. Now, the reason I suppose I can talk about this is because I have been, and on the odd occasion, I do procrastinate. I do get overwhelmed. I do find myself finding anything I can except for what I'm meant to be doing or what I can be doing. And so, yeah, this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how do we manifest or how do we create the things that we want? So you've got this big idea of maybe you want to help the world, but you don't know where to start. And you end up just not getting it done at all. Now, what I found with my dream, so my dream has always been to work for myself and to create a life where I'm solely responsible for myself, which means that I can dictate when I work, I can dictate how I work, I can kind of go for walks when I want, I can set times throughout the day when I'm more productive, I can work out how I work best. And these are great. I love this kind of lifestyle. And it also means that because of what I'm doing, I can work anywhere in the world if I wanted to. Now, this hasn't always been easy. For me, this has been a 8-year journey. I'm nowhere near where I want to be. Not by a long shot. I'm just really getting going on this path. And what I'm noticing is that I'm progressing faster now. Definitely I am progressing and moving faster. I can see everything changing, things are happening. So like this episode, I think it's going to be episode 95. And that was 2 years ago. I didn't even think I'd be doing a podcast, and yet I'm on episode 95. Yeah, I ran my first retreat last week. I've got another 4 booked in this year. I'm writing a book. I'm about halfway through the book. I'm also looking at starting coaching. I haven't started to really do anything on that yet, but I know, when I get time, that'll be something I focus on. Now, all these things, including the house that I live in, and going through the whole process of getting the house, weren't always easy. It required a lot of faith, a lot of trust in myself and the process, and trusting that the right thing will happen at the right time, and I would always be showing the right steps that I need to take, and not worrying about the third or fourth or second step, third, fourth or fifth step. So let's start off by So first thing is, you've got this dream. You got this dream. You know what you kind of want to do. I started off by creating goals around it. So like for myself, one of my goals at this moment in time is to get to 100 podcast episodes. And I've been like that since, I think when I started the podcast, I first aimed for 25, then I aimed for 50, and then I aimed for 100 episodes. And I'm actually, by the end of this year, I'm looking at aiming to hit 140 by the end of this year. So, yeah, it's just kind of breaking it down into little small achievable chunks. And then within that goal of hitting 100 or hitting 140, I have to be in a place of creating an episode once a week. And in some weeks, there's going to be 2 episodes. With the retreat, the idea of the retreat is to just get a date set in. You know, I've got an idea of a retreat. Let's get a date set in so then we know exactly when we're aiming for, and then to go from there. And so, yeah, with a goal, it's always ideal to know what you want to achieve. So make it achievable, as in, you know, saying that you want to create a podcast is a great starting point with regards to a goal. But it's getting a little bit more specific. What's your goal? What's your goal of your podcast? What's your podcast episode going to be about? Or what's your podcast going to be about? What kind of people do you want to engage with? Kind of getting clear on possible steps, getting clear on what other people have done. And so, yeah, setting a goal is all about really understanding what you want, how you're going to do it, and by when. So basically, if your goal is to have 100 episodes, that could be 100 episodes in the next 10 years or the next 5 years. So by having an idea of I'm going to hit 100 episodes by, on this occasion, it's going to be by 5 weeks' time, is, you know, it's giving it a time frame. And the time frame actually gives it a sense of urgency, or a sense of now. Because if you're aiming for to hit 100 episodes by next year, you could quite easily procrastinate more and more and more. And so by giving it a date and a bit of urgency, I feel like your brain kicks in automatically. I feel like it suddenly has like, okay, I've got something to aim for, but by when? And so I know that I need to get this episode done by next week, the following episode by the following week, blah, 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 blah. And so, yeah, I feel like it's getting and having an idea of what you want as a dream or an aspiration, and then from there creating the goal. So if it's a book, maybe your goal is to, you know what, I want by the end of the month, I want to have a clear idea of what type of book I am creating. Or you might say, okay, I want to have my book finished by a year's time. That is a goal that is achievable, and so on and so on. And it gives you enough time to really figure out what your next steps are for the book. The next thing I want to talk about is with goals, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. And I feel like this is where people get overwhelmed and procrastinate, because I get overwhelmed and procrastinate quite easily on this kind of step. So I have to be clear on what is this next step that I need to take? So I don't worry actually about so say use example of the podcast episodes. With the podcast episodes, I might have an idea of guests I want to invite. I might get in contact with the guests, and I might kind of organise a chat with them, a 20-minute chat to see if they're the right fit. But I'm not worrying about that episode going out in 2 or 3 weeks' time. I'm looking at the next episode. And obviously these episodes where I'm recording it on my own, I tend to do them 2 or 3 days before they go out. At one point I was like 7 episodes in advance, but I kind of lost that, and I'm going week by week. It's going out the following week, if that makes sense. So basically, I will do an episode, and it will either go out that week or it will go out the week after when I recorded it. But by getting clear on the next step and working on just the next step, you take away the overwhelm of having to do too much too soon. So I'll give you a quick story. I think it was back in 2016. I think it was 2016, and I had actually just broke up with an ex-partner, and I kind of was in quite a bad. I was in a very bad way. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. But one thing I did know is that I wanted to get my own house. Now, on this journey of finding my house, I obviously looked on the internet for the houses. I allow myself to then go and visit the house. So I wasn't thinking about the whole process of buying a house. I was thinking about the next step. So the next step then was to look at the house. And actually, every time I went into a house, I decided, you know what? I love this house. This house is for me. This house is for me. I'll jump in thinking, yes, 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 yes. And then I'll go into the next house, and the next house will be like, oh, yes, 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 this is the one, this is the one. And eventually I found the one that I'm living in, and it was like, wow. It's like, it had loads of different rooms. It was like a rabbit warren, had its own sauna, garden. It was a nice house. It wasn't brand new, and it was quite a bit of character to it. And I was like, yes, this is the one. This is the one. And yeah, throughout this journey of getting this house, I would always take the next step. Going to see the solicitor, going and seeing the mortgage, about the mortgages, to see about my bank detail accounts, obviously putting in an offer, and I'd obviously focus on each one as it came up. But the thing is, there are times when we're always going to go through setbacks. There's always going to be times when we go through setbacks. And this house took me 9 months to get. So it took me 9 months of being patient and waiting and carrying on with the process, the next step and the next step and the next step. And then there was a point where literally the house fell through, not once, but twice. I remember each time, people saying, oh, it's all right, go look at another house. But I had complete faith that this would be my house. And so I didn't even look at other houses. And I knew that I'd get it. I just knew I would get it. And even a point where this was like 10, 15 grand above what I could offer. And the people actually agreed to my offer of, I think it was 174,000. And they agreed to the offer and reduced it by 15,000. And so, yeah, I absolutely knew that would happen. I was patient, I trusted the process, and I allowed myself just to have this complete trust in it. And I got it. I got the house. And then 9 months, 10 months later, I moved into the house. It was such a satisfying, and this whole thing of getting the house proved to me that when you trust the process, when you have a goal, when you take each step as it comes, and you're open to it all, and you just have complete faith, you can achieve anything. You can get it if you keep your mind to it. And that was a big eye opener for me in the ways of manifesting and getting what you want, creating what you want, kind of thing. Now, another thing I want to talk about is being open to change. So you might have this idea of a goal, but what you actually get in the end might not be what you think. And this is for good. And I feel like it's for good reason, because sometimes what we actually asked for, actually wanted, might not be in our best interest. And so getting the alternative or something else might be even better for us. And we only realize that once it's happened down the line. And so it's obviously having a goal, keeping your focus on the goal and trusting that you're going to get it, but also being open to what comes. Trusting that it might not be what you think, and it will more than likely, if it isn't what you think, will be 10 times better than what you thought. Because I feel like our mind is limited to what we know, to what we learn, to what we see. But when we have trust in something bigger than themselves, they know, I feel like this thing that's bigger than ourselves knows what we want and what we need more than we do. So it might have this idea of this plan. You know what, James? I'm going to give you something 10 times better. And then again, it's about trusting the process. Trust. You know what? I'm all about trust. Faith. Having I feel so strongly about trust and having faith in the process. Because I know from my own personal experience, when you have that trust and faith, you get everything that you want when you're focused. It's unreal. And yeah. So I want to quickly add in a little bit extra in this moment about, I believe, a new way of being, a new way that we are shifting into, a way that we can work with both the masculine of doing and the feminine of allowing. And that comes all through, and I think I've mentioned it before in other episodes, about allowing yourself to, firstly, be present. Come into this state of presence. Be present in your body. Allow yourself to be present in your body so that you connect to yourself. And actually, I just want to quickly just mention, I was in London this weekend doing a course, Authentic Relating Level 2. And what I realized is that usually I feel really disconnected in London because I don't really like it. Too many people, and I feel like it's just very overwhelming and so much going on. But one of the realizations that I made, not in the course, but generally that weekend, is that you can, and I knew this before, but I feel like I'm starting to embody it, is that you can feel disconnected in a woodland, in nature, almost anywhere. And that means you can be disconnected in a big city. But at the same time, if you are disconnected from yourself, I feel like you're always going to be disconnected from everything. But if you allow yourself to connect to yourself, to really tune into yourself, into presence, into your heart space, really allow yourself to connect to your body, I feel like wherever you go, it does not matter, whether it's in a woodland, whether it's in a city, whether it's in somewhere in the middle of nowhere, or wherever it is, or a place you hate. I feel like if you are connected to yourself, you will be connected to anywhere, anyone, anywhere. Because I fully believe that with everything, with trust, with presence, with connection, it all begins with coming back to ourselves. So creating connection in ourselves, creating trust in ourselves. So it's trusting ourselves internally, and then naturally, externally, we trust everything externally. And it's the same with connection. If you connect to yourself internally, you will naturally feel connected to everything externally. And that's a big, big lesson I've learned that weekend. Anyway, I go off a little bit, off a tangent here. And what I was talking about, what I want to talk about, a little bit of last bit guidance on manifesting, is changing the way we see things. So being in a place of receiving. So we know what we want. We have this goal. But then once you have this goal, allow yourself to go and sit in a quiet place, whether you meditate, whether it's a woodland, whether it's a conservatory, whether it's a bath, to a table outside. Allow yourself to become present in the present moment. In fact, allow yourself to enjoy the presence of the moment. And allow yourself to be in this place of presence, of receiving, of allowing, and allow whatever comes through to come through. Now, you might have an intention for this bit, so you might have an intention of what's the next step for whatever the goal is. But then allow yourself to be in that place of presence. And you can have a journal and write down what comes through. Quite often I will sit in my conservatory with a cup of coffee and I will discuss about I will sit in there and I'll be in a state of presence and I'll just jot down on paper when little things come into my mind. And now this could be like lots of different things, and it could be a load of rubbish, but it doesn't matter. The more that you practice this, the more that it happens, the more easier it gets. And then once you've done like 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes of presence, and you've got some guidance and you've got some key steps, then the next thing is take inspired action. So you've done the feminine part. The feminine part is being in a state of allowing. The next step is to allow yourself to drop into the masculine. Now that you've got the guidance, go and take some inspired action steps. What is it? Take these action steps that came through for you. Or it might be you sit in a place of receiving and you decide, what comes through is I need to go for a walk. And then maybe on this walk, it's where you receive the steps that you need. But I believe, and this is what I've been doing quite a bit with regards to my business, is being in a place of allowing. Allow the guidance to come in, the intuition, the higher power, the thing that's higher than us. Allow that to come in, whatever needs to come in, action that step, come and sit down again, receive, then take action, receive, then take action, receive, take action. And what you'll find is that you'll start tuning in and you get better and better and better at this, and more stuff will come through. And then there'll be times when you're walking around and all these ideas will just float in. So yeah, I fully believe that is good. That is probably one of the best ways I think you can do in this fast-paced world, and create something completely you. That's what I fully believe. So yeah, we have talked about quite a bit today, but it's more, I just wanted to give you a kind of a bit of a structure. So we talked about, here are the couple of steps, talked about setting a goal and the importance of setting a goal, talked about obviously always taking the next step, not worrying about 2 or 3 steps down the line. We talked about setbacks and how setbacks are always going to happen, but it's how we navigate setbacks. Talked about being open to change, and what we want isn't always going to be what we think it is in our head. I talked massively about trust and faith, and then we finally finished off. Actually, I talked about how being connected to ourselves is the key to creating connection outside ourselves. And we finished off with being in a state of both the masculine and the feminine. So the actually allowing and the doing. So allowing yourself to receive guidance, then to action that received guidance. So yeah, that is my take on it all. Thank you for listening. If something in today's conversation resonated, take a moment to sit with it. And if you feel called, share this episode with someone who might need it too. You Matter, I Matter is a growing space. And if you'd like to stay connected, you're welcome to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. It really helps this work to reach people it's meant for. These conversations matter. You matter, I matter. Until next time, take care of yourself and the relationships in your life.